It's a mystery of a man who disappeared decades ago in the high Uinta Mountains. His story almost lost in history.
Well, new tonight, the lost man's relatives are now working with KSL's Dave Cawley to make sure he's never forgotten.
Ron Luke never met his uncle Lynn Simmons.
Lynn was lost when my mother was a teenager.
Somewhere in the expanse of the high Uintas, Ron visited these same mountains as a boy on family campouts.
As I sat around those campfires, I thought, well, where was it?
He never got a good answer.
There were little details that were ever talked about other than that he was lost.
Lynn's niece, Mary Lee, also remembers hearing this story as a kid. A history handed down by word of mouth.
It was not written down anywhere.
At risk of being forgotten. That is, until KSL rediscovered Lynn's case. We started digging. So did Mary Lee.
It just started this craziness in my head, and I could not put all of this down for several months.
Together, we reconstructed the story using old maps, newspaper archives, and Lynn's personal letters. Lynn worked on a government survey crew here in the summer of 1940. He and 3 co-workers went to the summit of a remote mountain called Lamont Peak one day in early September. But a storm descended, sending the survey team scurrying.
3 members made it to this point. They looked back to see Lynn a mile behind. They waved, and he waved back.
Then the 3 in front dropped below tree line. They thought Lynn was following behind, just out of sight.
This is Baker Lake at the head of Boundary Creek, and the survey party had set up what's known as a fly camp here. Lynn Simmons was supposed to join them by coming down off of this ridge behind me, but he never showed up.
Night fell with no sign of Lynn. Hundreds of people looked for him over the next 2 months. They scoured this rugged terrain until snow forced them out. Then the U.S. Interior Secretary sent this letter to Lynn's widow, saying her husband died in service of his country.
In order for Lynn to make his way to camp from where he was last seen, he would have had to cross this narrow neck of rock, a place where a slip and fall, a tumble to either side could have dropped him to his death, in a place where finding his body or recovering it would have been next to impossible.
Which means Lynn's remains are likely still scattered up here, somewhere. When KSL started digging into this story, we learned Lynn wasn't listed as a missing person, not on Utah's cold case website or in any national database.
We decided that one goal we had was to get him on the missing persons list.
So we brought the case back to the attention of law enforcement. And earlier this year, Lynn's relatives met with the Summit County Sheriff's Office. They provided DNA, a reference in case unidentified bones are ever found in these mountains.
Just felt like he deserved to be remembered and not lost.
The odds of Lynn's remains turning up after 84 years are slim. But for his relatives, knowing the story is what matters most.
We want you to know we feel like it's a miracle, really.
They took a trip to the Uintas last Labor Day weekend. Ron was able to see Lamont Peak for himself and share the story with his kids, making sure his uncle's memory survives.
Just gratitude for you and for all of the efforts that you've gone to help us find the information and better know what happened to my uncle.
That was KSL's Dave Cawley reporting. Lynn Simmons is now officially listed as a missing person on the Utah State Department of Public Safety website. His page has a brief bio, a contact number for the Summit County Sheriff's Office, as well as ways to submit tips and share the story on social media. And to make that easier for you, we've included a link to that page along with this story on our website, ksltv.com, as well as the KSL Plus app.